Ruben was a funny little kid. He had friends everywhere. He enjoyed life. He loved his brothers and sisters, and he was just a little boy. I have really good memories of him being a child, and he made everybody laugh. He had dreams. He had dreams about getting married and having his own family and being loved. I had just got home from my first job, which was a gas station, AM, PM, and Ruben was here. He had just come home. He spent the holidays in Santa Ana with my sister and my mom. My mom was going to go for the holidays to Orange County, and I begged her to please take Ruben because, I had to work and it was getting dangerous. It barely started getting dangerous in this area with gangs and all that, and I begged her to please take him, that I didn't want him to be alone. So she took him, and they had just gotten home, and my mom says that he was laying down, and some friends came by the house and asked him to go to a party, but he didn't want to go to the party because he was tired from the trip. But they convinced him to go because there were some girls that wanted to meet him at this party. When I got home, first thing I did was call my mom to see if Ruben was okay. And she says, she was very upset. She said that he went to this party and that Mario wouldn't go look for him, and that she was scared. And I go, Mom, as soon as he gets home, please call me and let me know where he's at. I just got to make sure so I can go to sleep. I had just laid down. It was a little bit past midnight when I got the call. It was, my husband wouldn't let me pick up the phone because he hated anybody calling after 10 o'clock. But I begged him to please let me pick up the phone because I needed to know if Ruben was okay. And I grabbed it, the phone, and I could hear my mom screaming, "They shot the niño, they shot the niño." And I knew it was my baby because that's what we called him because he was so small. I went to Memorial Hospital. It was probably the longest ride of my life. I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to see. When I got there, they asked me why I was there, and I told them that I had heard my son had gotten shot. They said they had a young man that had been brought in. He was between 15 or 16 years old, and I thought, thank God, it can't be Ruben. Ruben's only 13. But they wouldn't tell me no, that he wasn't my son, and they wouldn't let me see him. I kept passing out through the whole night, but they still wouldn't tell me he was my son. Ruben's uncle actually was the first one to go in there, and he came out crying, and he was shaking. He told me not to go in, just to remember Ruben the way he was. And then finally my husband got to go in, and he came out crying and told me not to go in, just to remember him the way he was. And I go, no, this was my baby you're talking about. I have to see for myself. That's when the doctor finally told me that it was my son Ruben, that he wanted to talk to me, and he took me to the side. He asked me if Ruben had any enemies. I said, no, everybody loved Ruben because he was so funny. I go, well, it's just like if they grabbed him by the shoulder and shot him in the back of the head point blank. I told the doctors I wanted to see him. They told me he was dying, but if he made it through the night, that he would be a vegetable for the rest of his life, because they had just shot off half of his brain. They were going to clean him up, and they were going to let me in to see him. As I walked through the hallway to where he was, all his friends already knew what had happened to him. And they were there, standing side by side the doors as I walked in. I could see my baby on that table, and his body was shaking from all the machines he had on him. He had a bandage on his head, and his eye was hanging out. And as I walked closer, they said they were going to cut the machine because he was only living because of the machine. I asked if I could give him one last kiss before they cut it. As I walked close to my baby, and I gave him his last kiss, in his good eye, he had 2 teardrops. And they cut it. I looked up because he was a baby. He had to go to heaven, right? All I kept trying to do in my mind was stop the bullet. It's like the craziest thing. And you know, the cops were right behind them. Within minutes. They were already following Mariscal. That's his last name, Mariscal. 2 hours before he killed Ruben, they had stopped him and they let him go. They were right behind him when he shot Ruben. 20 years in a Mexican state prison. To me, he should have got 40 or 50. But a lot of people tell me that 20 years in a Mexican state prison is hard. That he wouldn't get the luxuries that he would get here. And in a way, to me, that's a blessing. There's no movement of him, because I've already asked. But that doesn't mean he's not here. But I've been told many times that because there's no movement, he could have died in one of the Mexican prisons. Because they don't tolerate killing children. So that gives me a ray of hope. Maybe I'll never have to see his face, which I don't want to. I don't want him to see me cry. There's a lot of victims since Joe Biden took office. There's a lot of victims, a lot of new victims. The Democrats only have one agenda, and they want to bring in more Democrats. They need to stop giving all those freebies out, you know, because that's why these people are clinging to them. Everything that President Trump is doing is great. I would say it takes guts to do what he's doing, and he's helping. Well, he helped me give my son a voice. Without President Trump, would have Ruben ever had a voice? No. Ruben's picture actually made it to the White House. How many people could say that, you know? He didn't have to open the doors to us, and he did. He opened his heart to us. He's done a lot for us, angel moms and dads. Everything changed about me. Everything. I would have never done the things that I do now if it wasn't for losing Ruben. He gave me strength to keep him alive. This is my way of keeping him alive. My kids know every single thing about him. My grandkids too. They might not have met him, but they know everything about him. I changed a lot. I'm not the same person. I would have continued just to work and live my life the way it was. But losing him gave me strength to fight back and keep his memory alive. I've been told to stop because it's been 34 years. But you can't. I could cry for him today like if it was just yesterday. I don't want him to die in vain. If he had to die, there has to be a reason. And if it's to save this country, then so be it.